There's a particular kind of Microsoft 365 Copilot rollout failure that nobody really warns you about. The launch goes well. The internal comms team does a great job. Training videos go out. Champions are nominated. The success stories get written up. 2 weeks in, people are quietly typing questions into the sidebar, and Copilot is returning answers from documents nobody has touched in 4 years. It is citing procedures that have been superseded twice. It is confidently quoting contracts that technically don't exist anymore. And whoever owns the rollout internally quietly starts saying the words that nobody wants to say. It's not working. Here's the thing though, none of that is Copilot's fault. This episode is about why and about the single mindset shift that, if you make it, changes everything. Hi, I'm Liza Tinker, and welcome to the Simply SharePoint podcast, the podcast for the people quietly holding the modern workplace together: information architects, intranet managers, SharePoint admins, the collaboration person at every organization who somehow ends up owning everything. Today, I want to walk you through what I genuinely believe is the most important mental model shift in our profession right now. The shift from thinking of SharePoint as a filing cabinet to thinking of it as a database. It sounds like a small reframe. It is not. It changes how you design libraries. It changes how you treat metadata. It changes which conversations you have with your stakeholders. And most importantly, in the age of Copilot, it changes whether your AI rollout becomes an asset or an embarrassment. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Let's start with a model most organizations are still running on, even if nobody's ever said it out loud. The model goes something like this. Libraries are storage, folders are filing. Metadata is a chore that governance people care about. Views are filters. Search is a search box. And Copilot? Copilot is a chatbot bolted on top of all of that. If you squint, that's just a digital version of the filing cabinet that used to sit in the corner of every office in the 1990s. Drawers, hanging files, folders inside folders. You named things, you put them somewhere, and you hoped you could find them again. And for 30 years, that mental model was good enough. It frustrated people. It produced libraries with names like General Miscellaneous and the legendary Old Stuff, Do Not Delete. But it worked. People got their jobs done. The business kept moving. The reason I'm doing this episode is that for the first time in SharePoint's history, that model isn't good enough anymore. And the reason is sitting on every employee's laptop in a sidebar waiting to answer questions. Here's the model the best information architects are operating on right now. SharePoint is a knowledge database. Every document inside it is more than a file. It is a data record, a source of context, a small piece of organizational intelligence. Let me make that concrete with an example. Picture a Word document called Travel Policy version 3. In the old model, that's a file. It's saved in a folder. Someone opens it, reads it, closes it, moves on. In the new model, that same document is a record with a fingerprint attached to it. That fingerprint includes metadata, the columns and tags describing what it is, such as travel policy, approved, owner finance, review date, July 2026. It has ownership, so who created it, who's accountable now. It's Sarah from finance. Permissions, who can see it, edit it, share it. Has a document type, It's a policy, not a contract, not a procedure. A policy with policy-shaped attributes. Business function is finance, specifically travel and expenses. It has relationships. It supersedes travel policy version 2. It's referenced by the expense approval procedure. It links out to the corporate card terms. It has activity history. Who edited it? When? Who approved it? Who's read it recently? And it has life cycle. When it expires, when it gets reviewed, when it eventually archives. All of that travels with the document. All of that is queryable. And this is the part most people miss. All of that is what AI actually sees. Copilot is not opening a Word document and reading it cover to cover. It is reasoning over the fingerprint, the metadata, the ownership, the permissions, the relationships. The file is almost incidental. Now, that brings me to the line I want you to write down somewhere, if you do nothing else this episode. Copilot does not think in folders. Let me say that again, because we have collectively spent 20 years organizing SharePoint for folder navigation, and it has quietly become the wrong thing to do. Copilot does not think in folders. It thinks in relationships. It thinks in context. It thinks in patterns. It thinks in permissions. And it thinks in meaning. When someone asks Copilot, "What's our current travel policy?" it is not browsing the finance site, opening the policies folder, looking for the file with the most recent date. It is reasoning over a graph, documents tagged as policies, owned by finance, marked as approved, not superseded, currently in effect. If your environment is designed for folder navigation, drawer style, hierarchical, click, click, click to get to the thing, you have designed it for humans, not for AI. And here's the uncomfortable part. Increasingly, AI is the primary consumer of your SharePoint environment, not your people. Your people are talking to Copilot. Copilot is talking to your SharePoint. So the question isn't, is my SharePoint easy for users to navigate anymore? The question is my SharePoint legible to AI? Once you accept that SharePoint is a database, every part of the platform starts to make sense in a different way. Same features, completely different jobs. Let me walk you through the translation, one by one. First, libraries. In the filing cabinet model, a library is a folder with a fancier name. In the database model, a library is a defined collection of related records. It has a purpose. It has a content type. It has an owner. It has a small set of meaningful columns. Folders inside it are shallow, and they're for containment, never classification. The policies library doesn't have subfolders for HR, finance, IT, legal. Those are metadata columns. Same documents, smarter shape. Second is metadata, and this is the one everyone tries to skip. In the old world, metadata was a chore, something the governance team tried to enforce and users tried to dodge. In the new world, metadata is the intelligence layer. It is the thing that makes documents findable, governable, and AI readable. Without metadata, you don't have a database. You have files in a slightly nicer folder. And before anyone panics, I am not asking you to add 25 columns to every library. Quite the opposite. 3 good columns done well will beat 25 columns nobody uses every single time. Owner, status, review date. That's a real library. That's 3 columns Copilot can reason over. Third is content types. This is the most underused superpower in the platform. In the filing cabinet world, content types feel like extra forms and extra complexity. In the database world, content types are schemas. They define the shape of a record. A policy is shaped like a policy wherever it lives in your tenant. A contract is shaped like a contract. A project plan is shaped like a project plan. That consistency is what allows Copilot to answer a question like, show me every contract expiring in the next 90 days across the entire organization, not just inside one library, not just inside one site, across the organization, because the records are shaped the same way everywhere they live. Fourth is views. Stop calling them filters. Start calling them business queries. A view is not a tidier list. A view is a question your business is asking, expressed in clicks instead of code. All approved policies owned by finance sorted by review date. That's a view. All contracts expiring in the next 90 days grouped by owner. That's a view. All draft procedures more than 30 days old, filtered by department. Now that's also a view. Same library, same documents, completely different questions being asked. That is a database. And fifth is search, and by extension, Copilot. Search is no longer a box you type into and hope. Search is knowledge retrieval, a structured query running over a structured graph. And Copilot is the conversational interface to that graph. You're not chatting with a bot. You're having a conversation with your own organizational knowledge, if you've described it well enough for that conversation to be coherent. Now let me describe the shape of what typically goes wrong, because it is remarkably consistent across the environments I've spent time in. The pattern usually looks something like this. There are 3 or 4 different libraries with some variation of the word policies in the title. One lives in the HR site. One lives in a legacy team site from a few years back that nobody quite has the heart to retire. One is floating in someone's personal OneDrive and has somehow been shared with half the company. None of those libraries have a content type defined. None of them have a review date column. Ownership is inconsistent, and a meaningful chunk of the documents are owned by people who left the organization 18 months ago and never had their content reassigned. And there is no life cycle. Nothing has ever been archived. Everything that was ever uploaded is still sitting there at the same notional priority as everything else. So, when somebody asks Copilot, what's our remote work policy? Copilot does exactly what it's supposed to do. It finds documents that look like remote work policies. It picks the one with the strongest signal. And the strongest signal often turns out to be a draft from a couple of years ago that has been superseded twice, but happens to be the most viewed document by raw count. Copilot isn't broken. Copilot is being honest about the state of the environment. It is reflecting the information architecture back at the organization, faithfully in front of every user who asks a question. Which leads me to the principle I want you to take away from this episode. AI does not fix poor information architecture. It amplifies it, for better and for worse. Good information architecture makes Copilot feel like a senior colleague who has read everything in your organization and remembers all of it. Poor information architecture makes Copilot feel like an overconfident intern who has read all the wrong things and is now repeating them back to your stakeholders at speed. It is the same model in both cases. The only thing that changed is what you fed it. So what does good actually look like? The organizations doing this well share a small number of habits. None of them are glamorous. 1. They design libraries as databases, not folders. Every library has a clear purpose, a defined content type, a clear owner, and a tight set of meaningful columns. 2. They treat metadata as the intelligence layer. 3 columns, done well, properly populated, properly governed. 3, they use content types as schemas. A policy is a policy everywhere. A contract is a contract everywhere. And the shape is consistent across the tenant. 4, they use views as business queries. Instead of asking users to remember where things live, they expose views that answer the actual question. Contracts expiring this quarter. Approved HR policies by review date. The data is the same. It's just being asked smarter questions. And 5, they keep their environment honest. Old content is archived. Broken permissions are fixed. Ownership is current. Lifecycle rules are real. None of this is exciting work. All of it is the work that decides whether your Copilot rollout lands. Boring foundational discipline. That's the whole list. And to be honest, it's the same list a good librarian would have given you in 1985. Described, classified, current, accountable. We just have a more dramatic reason to take it seriously now. So here's the bigger point I want to leave with you. Your information architecture is no longer just a productivity tool. It is no longer just a way to help users collaborate. It is no longer a back office discipline that happens behind the scenes. Your information architecture is now powering your intelligence layer. The decisions you make this quarter about libraries, columns, content types, permissions, and lifecycle are the same decisions that determine what your AI strategy can actually do for your organization. Get them right, and Copilot starts to feel like a senior colleague who has read everything. Get them wrong, and Copilot will reflect your mess back at you, more confidently than ever. The shift from filing cabinet to database isn't a technical upgrade. It's a mindset upgrade, and it's the upgrade that quietly separates the organizations getting real value from Copilot from the ones still wondering why it isn't working. If this episode landed for you, you can read up further on this in my latest blog post at simplysharepoint.com. There is also a YouTube video that goes into further detail. And if you want the tools and structure guides to actually do this work, head over to the Resource Hub at hub.simplysharepoint.com. There you'll find my modern SharePoint system, which is a self-paced implementation system for building structured, governed, and Copilot-ready Microsoft 365 environments. There is even a cohort starting soon if you want guided assistance directly from me. I'd love it if you shared this episode with someone in your team who still calls SharePoint a document store. We're trying to change that, one conversation at a time. I'm Liza Tinker. This is Simply SharePoint. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next episode.